Cymbeline, a tale of love, betrayal, and redemption. Chapter 1. The Forbidden Love and the Queen's Deceit. King. Cymbeline of Britain ruled with a firm hand, his heart divided between the love of his daughter, Imogen, and his misguided loyalty to his second wife, the wicked queen, who had ambitions for her son, Cloten, to inherit the throne. Cymbeline's heart was burdened by the tension between his family's desires and his devotion to Britain as legacy. Imogen, beautiful and strong-willed, had fallen in love with Posthumus Leonatus, a nobleman of humble birth. Their love was pure and secret, but when Cymbeline discovered the marriage, he was enraged. He saw Posthumus as unworthy of his daughter's affection and banished him from the kingdom. Imogen was devastated, but her love for Posthumus was steadfast. The queen, determined to secure her own bloodline as the future ruler of Britain, despised Imogen and sought to manipulate her way to power. She encouraged Cloten, her son, to pursue Imogen, but Imogen, loyal only to her husband, rejected Cloten's advances and kept her love for Posthumus alive in her heart. Chapter 2. The Treacherous Bet and Iachimo's Deception. In Rome, Posthumus, exiled and heartbroken, found himself surrounded by temptation and doubt. One day he met Iachimo, a Roman nobleman with a devilish charm. Iachimo, curious about Posthumus's love for Imogen, boasted that no woman could remain loyal when tested. To prove his point, Iachimo proposed a bet. If he could seduce Imogen, Posthumus would lose. If not, he would accept Iachimo's defeat and humiliate him. Despite knowing Imogen's virtue, Posthumus, filled with pride and jealousy, agreed to the wager, believing that Imogen could not withstand the wiles of a man like Iachimo. Iachimo traveled to Britain and, pretending to be a noble admirer, tried to win Imogen's favor. But Imogen was unmoved by his advances, and Iachimo, frustrated, resorted to trickery. He snuck into her bedchamber, hidden inside a trunk, and once inside he stole Posthumus's bracelet from her wrist and took mental notes of her private space. Most treacherous of all, he observed a mole on her breast, a detail that would serve as false proof of her supposed infidelity. Iachimo returned to Rome, confident that the bet would soon be his. When Iachimo presented his false evidence to Posthumus, describing the intimate details of Imogen's room, including the mole, Posthumus's heart shattered with jealousy. Unable to believe that Imogen was true, Posthumus fell victim to Iachimo's lies. He demanded that Pisanio, his loyal servant, kill Imogen to avenge the perceived betrayal. Chapter 3. Imogen's Flight and the Tragic Error. Unaware of Posthumus's decision, Imogen was grief-stricken over her husband's departure. She refused Cloten's advances, and in despair, she decided to flee from her home. Pisanio, knowing that Imogen's life was in danger, chose to defy his master's orders. Rather than killing her, he gave her a disguise, the clothes of a boy, and helped her escape into the wilds of Wales, where she could be safe. She took on the name Fidele, hiding her true identity as she wandered the forests in search of a new life. Meanwhile, Cloten, angry at Imogen's rejection, began plotting to capture her by force. Dressed in Posthumus's clothes, Cloten set off to find her, his desire for her both obsessive and violent. He confronted Imogen, but when the two crossed paths in the forest, a deadly confrontation ensued. Imogen, still disguised as a boy, found herself caught between two worlds. She was suddenly confronted by Guiderius and Arviragus, two noblemen who had been exiled with their father, Belarius, years ago. In reality, these two men were Cymbeline's long-lost sons, stolen in infancy by the traitorous queen. However, they were unaware of their royal lineage. As Cloten challenged Guiderius, the young warrior swiftly beheaded Cloten in a moment of justice and fury. But Imogen, still believing Posthumus to be dead, remained in a deep state of grief and sorrow. To make matters worse, she mistakenly thought that Cloten's body, dressed in Posthumus's clothes, was that of her beloved husband. In her anguish, Imogen unknowingly drank a potion given to her by Pisanio. She was told it was a medicine, but it was actually a sleeping draught meant to simulate death. Imogen fell into a death-like sleep, while her fate hung in the balance. Chapter 4. The War between Rome and Britain. Back in Britain, tensions between the Romans and Britons had escalated into war. Cymbeline, refusing to pay tribute to Rome, rallied his people to defend their kingdom. Meanwhile, Posthumus, still in Rome and believing Imogen was lost to him, received word that the Romans were marching on Britain. Desperate, he disguised himself as a lowly soldier and made his way to join the British army, though he felt there was little reason left for him to fight. In the ensuing battle, Britain triumphed over Rome. As the Romans were taken prisoner, Imogen, still unconscious, was brought to the Roman camp, where she was treated as a prisoner of war. Posthumus, still unaware that his wife was alive, was captured by the Romans and thrown into a prison cell, awaiting execution. Chapter 5. Imogen revealed and the final reunion. As the prisoners were brought before Cymbeline, Lucius, the Roman general, pleaded for Fidele's life. He had admired the young boy's courage in battle and wished to spare him. It was at that moment that Pisanio, the loyal servant, recognized Fidele as none other than Imogen. In a moment of stunned recognition, Imogen pulled off her disguise, revealing her true identity to Cymbeline and the court. Cymbeline, overcome with emotion, embraced his daughter, and the entire court marveled at the miracle that she had survived. But Imogen's heart was still heavy, for she believed her beloved Posthumus was dead. The moment of recognition was quickly overshadowed by another shocking turn of events. Posthumus, still in chains, was brought forward for execution. At the sight of his beloved, he barely dared to believe his eyes. In a moment of overwhelming joy and disbelief, Imogen and Posthumus embraced, and all the misunderstandings that had torn them apart melted away. Posthumus confessed his guilt for doubting her, and Imogen, with a heart full of forgiveness, welcomed him back into her arms. Chapter 6. The Lost Princes and the Queen's End. The final twist of fate came when Belarius revealed the truth. Guiderius and Arviragus were Cymbeline's lost sons, stolen by the treacherous queen years before. Cymbeline, overwhelmed by emotion, welcomed his sons back into the royal fold. Their return restored the balance of power in Britain. The wicked queen, upon learning that all her plots had failed, fell into despair and died, consumed by her own malice. Chapter 7. Peace and reconciliation. With the war ended, Cymbeline made peace with Rome, agreeing to pay tribute, not as a sign of submission, but as a gesture of mutual respect and unity. Posthumus, no longer exiled, was restored to his rightful place. Finally, after so much turmoil, the kingdom was at peace, and Imogen and Posthumus could love each other without fear, their hearts no longer burdened by doubt or betrayal. Cymbeline, his family restored and his kingdom safe, could now look to the future with hope. Thus ended the tale of Cymbeline, a story of love, betrayal, redemption, and the enduring power of truth.